So, in about a week's time, I become British. I'm not sure it's quite sunk in yet. For the last few years, I've made a living taking people where they sort of need to go. I'm usually the driver. But for the last 23 years or so, I've felt more like the passenger on this journey to citizenship. I arrived from Jamaica in August 2002 when I was 9 years old, and now I'm 33. Like in a week's time, I'll literally be a British citizen. I'll have my ceremony. I'll swear my allegiance to the king, and I'll get a certificate saying I'm now a citizen. But the road to get to even this stage, it's taken a lot, and I'm not sure most people are even aware of the level of inconvenience that a journey like that can cause a person. Decisions that should have been mine, like education, relationships, work, travel, where I want to live, were made for me. Not by my parents, but by a system that's been put in place. The UK immigration system isn't just difficult. It leaves you in these limbo states where everything is just the way it is and it's unlikely to change very much. It's gotten a little easier, like with more paper filings becoming a bit more digital and stuff like that, but it's still a difficult system to navigate. People normally ask me, if you've been here since 2002, why is it taking you 23 years to get to this point of citizenship? Aren't most routes, if they're even familiar with the process at all, aren't most routes typically like 5 years to get to citizenship for like most immigrants? People like my mother who come from Jamaica, Jamaica's not a particularly powerful nation, and we can't exactly, travel visa free to most of the world, and we don't really have like high GDP. The reality of it for most people that come from like these nations that aren't like, the US or Australia, they come here with a sort of blind view of, I'll sort of just go there and I'll see how it sort of goes. And if it goes well, I'll try to sort of just get to the point of like being a citizen. But you're not aware of like how complicated that whole process might be. And that was sort of my mother. She came here with a view of here will be better than Jamaica, which it definitely is in many regards. She didn't come here familiar with the whole process, the whole immigration system and what it takes to get to citizenship. She came here first, and then after a few years, she applied for me and my brother to come here. And we arrived in 2002, me and my brother at the sort of same time. I was 9, he was like maybe 6 or 7. But yeah, we came here as dependents of my mother. In the eyes of the Home Office, when you're a dependent, the time as a dependent doesn't really count towards any sort of path to citizenship. You have to get an official path to citizenship before you can get to become a citizen. So you have to be on either a 5 or 10 year path or whatever path they're sort of changing the immigration system to be now. So basically for over a decade, me and my brother were dependents. All that time didn't count towards anything. We basically spent 10 years just sort of existing here because we were still attending school. Like we attended primary school, secondary school, and all the way up to sort of college in that time. And it didn't really matter then so much being a dependent, because you didn't really have to prove your own way to getting a job or renting a house or anything official like that. You were basically supported by our mother the whole time. All that time was wasted time, yes, but it was still useful in some regard on the immigration path. I only became eligible for the 10-year route because so much physical time has passed. I had to wait until I was 22 years old before I became eligible for the 10-year path to citizenship. And at the age of 22, I had been in the UK for 11 years and 11 months. More than half my life was basically spent in the UK for a path to citizenship. I finally received a letter saying I was granted leave to remain under paragraph 276 for 30 months. So at the age of 22, that was the time that the official path to citizenship started ticking for me. There's this rule, section 3C, that basically says if you're in the process of renewal, your rights stay the same until the Home Office makes a decision. That decision can take some time, can take up to like a year in some cases. In that time, while the Home Office is deciding your sort of stay in the UK, trying to change a job or move house or change educational institutions, those become decisions that are sort of out of your control. It's no longer a choice of like, you simply get some good grades and then you go to the next stage. Then that was the only sort of requirement, because you're in a state where you can't prove to this new institution boss or landlord that you're eligible to be in this place, providing you've got the base requirements to be in that place. Trying to explain that to somebody like a landlord or boss that's never been in this limbo state of being, it's very difficult. It's stressful, to say the least. You're under the same legal conditions, technically. I can't necessarily prove it without a letter from a lawyer or them carrying out checks through this convoluted system. Now it's sort of gotten easier with the whole e-visa thing, but even then, your current e-visa still sort of says your stay is expired, but they're supposed to sort of trust that even though it says it's expired, because you've got an application with the Home Office, everything's all right. It just sounds unconvincing, and it causes you to have, pass up opportunities because you don't have a valid visa currently. From what it seems on paper, on your current visa conditions on this 10-year route that you might be on, it says there's no recourse to public funds, so there's no help for you anywhere other than like you being self-sufficient. And besides, you wouldn't even want to get help from the government, because then if you do that, it might harm any future applications you have, because it would seem like you need help to even live here. And if it ever seems like you need help to live here, then they'll be like, we can't renew you on your next renewal because you need help to live in this place that is already quite difficult to live in. If you're trying to get a job, it's not like you need a visa sponsor or anything like that. So you're not quite in that boat, which would already make you sort of undesirable in many employers' eyes. And most employers anywhere are woefully unfamiliar with the process. Person that tends to be dealing with your issue tends to be this, very British HR lady that's never even heard of the Home Office application that you might be applying for or the logistics of the situation you might be in. After being here for that long, you sort of pay anything to sort of stay. And unfortunately, lawyers know that, and I think they sort of take advantage of that. Imagine paying $250 to pay for a letter that basically states a thing that's already checkable. The lawyers were sort of charging fees for chaser emails to no reply inboxes that they charge like, a good, 20, 30 quid per email, but they're to no reply inboxes. So they're stacking up these emails proving that they're sort of doing work, but the work isn't really necessary. So I found that very just parasitic. I couldn't believe things like that were happening. I sat in a meeting once with a trusted family lawyer that basically explained to me what the whole complexities of the application would involve, what the fees are paying for, what additional fees there might be, stating things like, because we've been here for more than half our life, they'll apply under some human rights justification for a path to citizenship. So you're thinking in your head it's going to be this big thing that requires like those official courtroom hearings that you sort of see with the lawyer stating his case and all of that. The next meeting to sort of filling my application, and it probably took like maybe an hour or so, the person that was dealing with this, high stakes, hugely complicated matter was just basically an intern. It's just the contrast of it. Him, this head lawyer, explaining how complicated this situation would be, and then, in the next meeting, he basically puts me in with this intern that seems like she's just fresh out of uni. The first time after my mother and my brother gained their stay here and they were all on their path already, I didn't get onto that path until maybe a year and a half after they did, because like it took my mother time to be in a financial place for her to then pay for my official start to citizenship. And I could never shake the feeling that this was not as complicated as the lawyer made it out to be. I decided if an intern could do it, I could do it too. So after I had my successful first time application, 30 months come through, and I was officially on the path, the 10-year citizenship path, I would never from that point on pay a solicitor again to deal with my immigration situation. The thing that just never sat with me is I never liked being taken advantage of because of my ignorance. If I remained ignorant of this whole application and the laws behind the whole immigration stay. So ever since then, for the past few years, I've never paid a lawyer to do any subsequent applications. It's basically worked out for me in that regard. In that time, I've learned that the immigration system is confusing, but it's not impossible to navigate. But you sort of have to just accept that it's just the way that it is. So in about a week's time, I attend my citizenship ceremony. That's the final step for me. If you feel stuck in this system, I get it, but I think it's only if you've been in this whole immigration system that you either get made or broken. And just hope that you've sort of learned some lessons in that sort of time that's passed. My name is Alex, and I'm finally becoming a British citizen.